Hi, I'm Mike Mansur, and I'm the project leader for the Cave Formation Repair and Restoration Project. And it's going to cover our work in the past year for Fort Stanton, Cottonwood, Hidden, and Virgin Caves. And we've done broken formation repairs, flowstone and trail restoration, surveying, LiDAR scans, and impact mapping. And the presentation includes our photos of our work. In the background, the project began in Black Cave on June 2nd, 2018, when I went down to see Jim and Val Worker to find out how to apply epoxy, prepare the formations, and actually install stainless steel pins for reinforcement. And they're the editors of the book Cave Conservation and Restoration back in 2006. And it's a great reference book. So anyway, I've used that knowledge from this point on. And to date, we've done 286 formation repairs with 34 volunteers spending almost 1,100 hours in cave, 45 trips, and all these following caves is what we've done work in. We've actually done some surveying in Fort Stanton Cave too, and we found a pit that had was virgin and had the formations that we were looking for, the broken ones. I began caving in 1968 with my father, became a life member of the NSS in 1985, and a conservation life member this year. And my first restoration work was at Carlsbad Caverns Restoration Field Camp in 1986. Rich Rolfert was the expedition leader. I've also been impact mapping project leader and Lechigia Cave Restoration project leader, and this project right now. So I'm going to start with showing you a sequence of photos from our repair work in Carlsbad Caverns Big Room. This is a two-piece formation, a broke that was vandalized by someone throwing a rock, and it was located 19 feet in the air and it weighed 32 pounds. So there's the two pieces. And here's one of the inventions I've created. This is what I call the speleo clamp to hold the formation in place while we do the drilling. I also invented the speleo, the stalactijack, speleo rack, and speleo cup, which you'll see in depth in the following presentation. But these helped us out enormously to do our work. And here's the stalactijack on top of a 16-foot tall, 2-inch rigid metal conduit. So I could actually do the repair of this formation on the ceiling. It's a 3/4 inch all thread with a nut to raise it up like a jack. Here's it from the trail. And this is looking down from above once it was installed and the epoxy is curing. And here's the formation about a month later after we finished it. And you can't even see the joint, but this is very delicate work because that formation next to it was very fragile. So Fort Stanton Cave, we had 3 trips last year, 14 formations repaired, 7 stalactites, 7 stalagmites. We put in 140 in-cave hours in that cave, and we cleaned and organized 200 plus broken pieces that we found in this historic section. And we found virgin passage because we were looking in pits to try to find pieces of formations that to go with the ones that were broken up on in the main room, in the lake room. And so we ended up finding virgin passage in a historic section of the cave. And we've done LiDAR scans of this passage, which you'll see later. And here's the breakdown of the stalactijack that I invented. It shows the pieces that, the components of it. And I got the idea from installing a curtain on a curtain rod, spring loaded. And I thought, well, this would work really well. So it's a 1-inch PVC with a 1/2-inch piston PVC, a 40-pound spring, and replaceable caps for the top. And here's a picture of us with the stalactijacks in use in Fort Stanton. As myself, Todd Roberts, Minori, Yoshida, and Corinne Rich right there. And here's the speleo rack, which holds the formations in place where they are being repaired. And here's a photographic paper that Todd made with his great idea of scaling the pictures to use as a reference point when we're looking on the ceiling for matches. And here's our tool cache, the speleo rack, speleo clamp, stalactijack, and speleo cup. Here's me assembling the speleo clamp in the cave. And this is Todd's idea of scaling photographing the ends of the formation so you then can put it onto a photographic paper to scale in color so you can hold it up to the ceiling. It's worked very well in the other caves we've worked in, and it's an excellent idea. He has a counter and a ruler there for scale. And here's Corinne putting together pieces of stalagmite that she found about 20 feet from this area. And so this is just one of the many, many pieces that we're working with. And here's the formation after it was glued. And you can see the multiple pieces, and we're going to camouflage the cracks eventually. And here's Minori, Corinne, and Todd sorting out the formations, the hundreds that we had to pick from that were all covered with mud. And here's a sequence of how to do this marking of the formation. So in the worker's book, they talk about cutting off a piece of Sharpie and to use to do that, but it's quite expensive in the scope of the project that we're doing with so many formations. And I was standing in Family Dollar and saw the Q-tips and black nail polish, and I thought maybe we can use this. So Minori and Todd helped me develop a way of drilling a pilot hole for the pin, ½ inch deep, and putting in the piece of Q-tip to length, marking it with fingernail polish, which is only $1, and then marking the two ends of the formations where we're going to do the drilling next. So it's a very effective method of and very inexpensive method. And here's us, this is myself, Alan Trodner, and Minori putting in a new stalactijack using a plumb bob to find the location it's going to go in. And here's me drilling the hole for the stainless steel 1/4-inch pin. The speleologic rack is holding it safely. And here we are putting the pieces together of the stalagmite that we found the pieces of in the pit behind here. And so this is the preparation and the epoxy application, stainless steel pin placement as we put it together. And that's the finished product. And here's Newt Peterson cleaning off the formations, the hundreds that are just covered with packed mud from over 100 years worth of walking on them in this area. So we're trying to do everything. There's a stalactijack in the background right there. Here's a sequence photo Todd took of before. We've identified the formation on the left. The center, we put the stalactijack in with the epoxy, and the right after we came back a month later and removed the stalactijack. And here's a formation that Minori found in the pit. You can see where it was been bashed by a hammer to break it off years ago. We've replaced that and repaired it. And also the graffiti that's on that rock is back some as far as the 1800s. Here's a LiDAR scan Todd made of the virgin pit that we found. Newt brought in a stainless steel ladder or cable ladder for us to drop this pit. Nobody had ever done it because of its bell shape. We found pieces at the bottom, but it was virgin passage. And so we named it the Pool Fingers Pit. And I surveyed it with a sketch too. We surveyed it and I sketched it. Here's what it looks like down there. These beautiful yellow pool fingers. They're virgin, untouched, unlike the passage above it, which is the historic section, highly damaged. Cottonwood Cave, we did 97 pairs to date. And the coat table room, 128 formations repaired. And we've done a lot of restoration work there as well. Here's an example of restoration of the trail, the Lion's Tail area. And that's after. And Scott Christensen working on a flowstone cleaning that's in the coat table room. You can see how densely packed that is around our repairs, but this area we want to clean off because we're not using it right now. And this is Lois Mano applying a special paste that we've developed to conceal the joints of the repairs and fill in any pieces that are broken. Here's stalactijacks in place. This is the before picture. And this is after. You can see in the background that all those marked formations are what Todd took his pictures from. And here's me next to one of the stalactijacks before we removed it and after we removed it. Okay, so this shows the after the stalactijack has been removed. And so this is the method that Todd Roberts came up with as far as photographing the formations and comparing them to the ceiling. And we've got one he named Johnny 5 right here that shows the formation and the one he found. And here's the formation after it's been repaired and using a speleo cup held in place by 2 fence clips and a stainless steel clamp. And this is Mike Moffett here with a formation that he named 3 fingers, 3 attachment points to the ceiling. And here we are putting a stalactijack up to hold it in place while the epoxy cures. That's Hunter and Michael working on that. And this shows it after it's been in place. It's the way it is today. We haven't gone back to remove the stalactijack yet because it's too soon. And here's me drilling a formation that we named Baby Goliath, that we found all the pieces in this area that was a pile of formations, and it's Minori is holding it while we are doing the drilling. We still haven't found where this one goes yet. And this is us putting the pieces together after we've installed the stainless steel pins. And this is it as we are ready to put epoxy on. And this is it after the repairs have been complete. Notice the camouflage, you can't even see the joints. And this is a pile of formations that we found in the bottom, the crawlway down to the cantina room that were all vandalized. We're not sure when. This is what we've got to work with, along with some other places. And so here, Ellen Troutner put up a speleo cup using rubber bands on some nubbins. And you can see how it works here. The stalactijack in the background. I modified that one to hold the formation laterally so it wouldn't kick out. And here's Minori and Dan Pollock working to identify where these formations go in the ceiling in the cantina room. And here's me drilling one of them to put a stainless steel pin in. And this shows the pin after it's been installed. And this shows how it fits together after the stainless steel pin has been put in before we epoxied it. And this is Minori and me looking at a formation point of origin in the ceiling that she's going to clean off. Here she's cleaning it off with a Dremel tool to the new growth that's on it so we can put it together with a stalactijack. And here's Dan, her, and Joe Sandusky working on putting the formation in place after it's been epoxied. You can see how they modified it with the diagonal piece, and it's still there. And this shows all our formations with, this is some that we put together recently actually. And the epoxy's holding, they're in a speleo rack. And this is the speleo clamp holding a formation repair there. And this is the stalactijacks here set up holding formations and a speleo cup. So you see all our inventions in one place together there. And this is Forest Service Cave Specialist Jen Foote working on these formations here last October. The speleo rack is fully loaded with pieces that we epoxied together. So we're going to start identifying where they came from. And this right here is a piece that has a new growth on it. So we're going to put it together. We cleaned off the new growth and it's been epoxied with a stalactijack holding it. And here's a speleo cup holding another formation repair. And here we've got a speleo cup where Ellen had tied a piece of flagging to hold the T-post clips on with a rubber band holding the base of it. So that's the before picture as it was last year. And this is the after. There's the joint, barely see it, and that's the formation complete. And here's Ellen putting up another speleo cup here. And in Virgin Cave, we've done 16 formations that have been repaired to date, 108 in-cave volunteer hours over 3 trips. And we had one large stalagmite baseball bat shape that was 68 inches tall, broken in 2 places that we repaired a few years ago. And it's still in place to this day. And it was very awkward because we had to use, that's how I actually invented the speleo clamp, is to hold it in place while it was curing. And here's a formation we did just recently that had an old rusty nail from some previous years back epoxy or glue, I understand. And so I'm drilling a hole here for a new stainless steel pin. Here's the new pin put in place. And here's Minori cleaning off the old glue. And so here, this is the formation now installed with epoxy. And Todd made a match in the ceiling up in the upper end of the room with this formation that was in a pile of them that were laying there. And we're gonna have to come back with a 12-foot tall stalactijack later this summer to fix this because it's a deep pit right below it. And here's Minori and myself ready to pull out a rusty nail from this formation. It was a previous repair. You can see the old glue that was there. And here we are pulling out the nail. Sequence photos by Todd Roberts. And then we've got Corinne, myself, and Minori doing another repair. You see Corinne's got the epoxy ready to go. And here's some of the old flagging we removed. It was all brittle. And so Todd located these 2 pieces of formations down near the main trail going back to the 70-foot drop. So he installed 2 stainless steel pins and so they wouldn't be kicked off. And then him and Corinne are putting on epoxy. And then here's the formations after they've been repaired. Here's another repair that we did. This is a match that we made just recently, and that's it after it's been repaired. And Hidden Cave, we had 24 total formations repaired to date, 102 in-cave volunteer hours over 6 trips. So here's another invention that Todd came up with, is similar to the one that we called the speleo splint that Hunter Klein had invented. And here's a formation that had 2 live drips that was 8 feet in the air. And so Todd came up with an idea to use stainless steel tubing to put in place of the the dripping points, in hopes that the water would pass between the formation without the glue interfering it. And so this is Minori cleaning off the area before we epoxied it. Here's Todd putting up an 8-foot stalactijack underneath it. And this is it after the stalactijack was removed a month later. You can see the water is now passing down through the formation and there's a drip at the bottom. And here's Colin Wallfield next to a bunch of formations that he had matched of a pile that Corinne had actually put under this tarp, sorted them out by size. And this particular one right here, this is going to be shown in a minute. There we go. So here's before with the stalactijack holding it in place, and after it's been repaired. It's amazing that the soda straws didn't get damaged. Todd Minori working in that area. So here's a little example of all our tools we have to use, the speleo clamp. So here's a before and after shot of a bottle-shaped formation in the trail that Todd had found. He put a stainless steel pin in, and now it's been epoxied. And here's the formation I found laying over here, and I noticed that it might go with this stub, and so it did. So here we are. Minori's holding it, and John's getting ready to put epoxy on where I just installed a stainless steel pin. And here's John applying epoxy, and that's the formation after it's been repaired. And here's some new growth on an old break. We don't know how old that is, and we haven't found the piece yet that goes there, but this shows you how long it's been broken. Here's one we called the elephant's foot that been used as a step for this trail for many, many years. Todd found it went right above there into a piece of curtain. And so here's Michael Moffett cleaning off the mud. And so Michael Moffett, myself, and Hunter Klein are trying to position 2 stalactijacks to hold that in place, and that didn't work. So here we are drilling a stainless steel pin, John Cochran and I. And I'm trying to drill, I'm drilling a hole in the curtain to put the stainless steel pin in. And now we're lining up the stainless steel pin with a hole in the curtain. And this is Hunter and Michael after they devised a combination of the stalactijack with a speleo clamp. They just happened to be a 1/2-inch stock that I'd used, and it worked to hold it together. They ended up naming it the stalacticrutch. And so this is a picture of what it looks like now as well as curing. And once it's cured, we're going to clean off the dirt from it again. And this is an old form that I believe Dave Yagno had developed in the 90s to use to record volunteer hours for volunteer value. So I've been using that 25 years. And here's an article on impact mapping that I wrote for the June 2001 NSS News that you can refer to, go online and see it, or you can read it from here. And so I developed a color coding system that I put onto a map drawn by Ann Strait to show the impact over a year's assessment of what the cave looked like, heavily damaged as red and blue and so forth. And 4 years later, I went back and did another assessment, and this shows of the work, how much it's paid off for the HDRP, the High Gods Restoration project led by Jen Foote, has paid off. And here's another one I did of hidden chimney impact mapping. And this is an assessment of hell below back in 97 or 98. I haven't gone back for a second analysis yet. And so Todd and I surveyed the cantina room, and I came up with a way to identify all the broken formations with red dots and then circle them with green once they've been repaired. So Todd also did a LiDAR scan of the room, and so below is what it is. So it represents the pool, the different pools, and it matches the sketch pretty well. And so here's another impact map that I drew of the Coke Table Room area and what we've done for repairs so far in the Lion's Tail area. And this is a hidden impact assessment of the formations, what we've done so far versus what's there. And I wanted to reward all the folks that have helped me on 2 or more trips. So I had this t-shirt made up, and Lois Mano did the graphics. I took the picture. And so everybody that's done more than 2 trips gets a t-shirt as a thank you for the project. And thank you to all these folks that have helped in this project since 2018. And many are from the BLM, the National Park Service, and the Forest Service. So thank you all so much for all your help. You've done a wonderful job, and look forward to many more years working together. And so for references, you can contact me for all my trip reports this past year, and showing Fort Stanton, Cottonwood, Hidden, and Virgin Cave. And I also wrote that article in the NSS News June 12th, 2001. So you can refer to that too for a new color coding system. And also the article I wrote for the conservation issue in April this year in the NSS for tools and techniques we use. It shows all the inventions that myself and Todd Roberts and others have made for this project to make it work so well. And there's the link to that news article if you want to cut and paste that. And Cave Conservation Restoration by Jim Worker and Val Hildreth Worker in 2006. Here's the contact information for me that you can take a look at and get a hold of me for any more information. And I want to thank you for your support and help on this project and interest in it as well. And good luck and stay safe out there.